Hi, this is Heather Picken, and welcome to the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur Podcast. How to break through anything, become unstoppable, and be profitable. Learn how to align your mind. Yeah, I call that activating your money mojo. Market to your ideal clients and make money doing what you love. Tired of struggling and trying to figure things out? Do you tend to stop when things get tough? Well, I'm here to steer the ship out of the sea of overwhelm so that you can attract money and success in your business now. Grab your favorite beverage, let's fire it up, get inspired, and live life at your highest potential. Here's Heather with her co-host Chihuahua, Frankie Lee. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur. And I love bringing guests all around the world to empower you in your business and empower you in your mind because, you know, let's face it, the mind runs the show. The mind is actually responsible for helping you, you know, to get the clients, right, and seal the deal. And I'm so excited and on fire to invite one of my very special guests onto the show today, Michelle Scism. And I think I've said her name like 10 times before we started recording. But, you know, I want to welcome you first, Michelle, to the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Heather. It's exciting to be here. So it's going to be fun.
I know. I love it. And I love the topic that we're going to be discussing today. And this is about taking risks. And how many times, you know, have you personally, and then talking to our audience, have you, you know, you've taken that leap of faith, you've taken that risk, and that has allowed you to grow your business. And then other people that are so afraid to take a risk that nothing happens. And so today we're going to be talking about exactly that. We're talking about taking a risk or getting a job.
That's right.
Michelle, before we jump into that topic, if you could share with our listeners a little bit about your work and how you help people.
Absolutely. So, you know, I am what you would call a die-hard entrepreneur, right? I eat, sleep, breathe, think about business nonstop. Third generation entrepreneur. So I've been this way since birth. And what that has given me, you know, I've built multiple businesses in my life. I sold my trucking company and retired in my 40s. And all of this attention to business really gave me this storehouse of how to do things. And so after I retired, a couple of years later, I went, oh my God, I have to do something. And I thought, I could take what I know and go out and work with entrepreneurs and help them build their businesses. And so what's so cool about it, Heather, is that now I get to build, you know, I have private clients and I have tons of clients all over the world do all kinds of stuff with me. But I feel like I'm building 20 or 50 businesses instead of just one. And for me, there is nothing better than that. I love business. So yeah, with my clients, we work on how do you make more money, or how do you take action, how do you get out there and get massive visibility and be seen in a world right now where we have the possibilities, they're just endless. I mean, it's not like it was when I was running the trucking company or the grocery store, any of that. It's not confined to regional. We have opportunities that we've never seen in the past.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying. And I love that you are so aligned with business. I'm very similar because I think and breathe business. Yeah. I even try to monetize my dog, you know, my 7-pound Chihuahua, like you're being monetized. And that's really kind of I kind of laugh about it. But at the same time, you know, it's the mindset that you need in order, you know, to create the success that you want. So let's talk about some of the pitfalls and the mistakes that you find, you know, particularly women, because they get into their head about money when it comes to taking the risk of investing in themselves to create a larger vision. So what are some of the mistakes?
Yeah, you know, when I wrote the book last year, I wrote a book called Take the Risk or Get a Job, which is where this conversation started. And I wrote that book because what I saw for entrepreneurs that really there are 3 things that I focus on in that book. That entrepreneurs are afraid, they're cheap, and they're lazy. And what that means to me is that we allow the fears to stop us from taking the action. We allow ourselves to not go out and charge what we should. That's where the cheap comes in. And then lazy is that we're not taking the right action. So I want to tell you that I believe I I know you're not out there laying on the couch. I'm not saying you're doing that. What I'm saying you're doing is not taking the action that is necessary to build your business. And so what I see is entrepreneurs not investing, not hiring that VA, not bringing in that coach who already knows what you should do. And that helps you to leap forward. Like you said earlier, it's about the leap in business. So yeah, I see it every day, unfortunately, that we allow ourselves to be held back. And we have to just start to take action that might be scary. You guys, I don't know if you know this, I am an extreme introvert. And so I put myself out on stages now. I do interviews like this. That's a big risk for me. As an introvert, it takes everything I've got to come do these things. But I also know that this is how I build my business. And so I'll take that 20 seconds of courage, whatever it takes to get this done. So yeah, Heather, it's a big problem out there.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying. You know, you've got to put yourself out there. I find, especially with women, they're so afraid to put themselves out there for the fear of what other people might say to them or what they think. I know for me personally, I'm a big goofball. I can be very serious. And some of the things that I'm doing, I start thinking in my head, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? You know, I'm here with my dog and I'm just like going crazy. Then, you know, I look at it and it's just like, if you can't be who you are and really express that out into the world, then you're never going to be successful if you can't really own your own power. So I was wondering if you could speak to the women out there that are feeling insecure, that feel, there's a couple of different dialogues that I find that are going on. I don't have anything valuable to really offer, you know, the marketplace, and who am I to really be doing this? You know, I find that women have those conversations all the time. Therefore, they won't put themselves out there. And then the fear of judgment.
Yeah. So let's talk to the valuable conversation first. What do we have to put out there? What is it that we know? And I have to tell you, I haven't met a single person yet that didn't have something that I wanted to learn from them. I'm a very inquisitive person, and it amazes me how often someone will just say, I spoke to a woman yesterday. Here's a great example. I spoke to a woman yesterday. She used to work with businesses to help them get in global markets. And she focused on Israel and Pakistan. And I've never done anything like that. I mean, I've done all kind of great things, but I was so intrigued. I said, why aren't you teaching me? Why aren't you teaching us how to do that? For her, it was second nature. She didn't think anybody would pay for that. I want to know how to go global. Don't you want to know how to go global? So, you know, I think you have to stop, number one, and, do an inventory of what you do know. Think about, what are people always asking you about? But then possibly what you should do is actually don't make the decision yourself. Go out to the outside. Go to an ideal client. Go to a coach. Go to someone and say, here's what I have, and what of this could I make a business out of? Because we are so in our own way. You know, you were talking about the mindset piece. That's where this is coming in, is that we're so in our own way that we can't see that there's value in what we do. So I'm telling you, there's not a person listening to this interview, watching this right now, that doesn't have something of value to go out there and make a business out of. We all can. We all have it. So
yeah, absolutely. I love what you're saying. Yeah, because you can think about, like, let's say someone loves to dance and they think, well, how can I make money from that? And it's like, you could create an entire business around that. As my mind is churning, like, oh my gosh, this person can do this. But it goes back to that belief that holds people back, you know, to really take that action, to take that next step. Or I also find people are in businesses that might be a little bit stagnant because they're really not doing what they really want to do. So I was wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. So sometimes the business is just kind of the launching pad, right? And so we find that we start out doing one thing and that kind of evolves into something better or bigger, or maybe your clients ask for something different and you try that. To me, business is fluid. It's constantly changing. Now, I want you to be really careful. I am not talking shiny object syndrome kind of change, right? I meet those entrepreneurs too who are changing every week. Every time I talk to them, they're doing something different. That's not what we're talking about here. We're saying that, I started down a direction, a path in this business. When I started it 6 years ago, I thought I knew what it was going to look like. It looks totally different today. But the fact that I had a direction, I had a path to follow. Every time I fell off the path, I got back on, right? And I just kept taking those steps. And guys, listen, yes, my company is, we do about $650,000 to $700,000 a year right now in my coaching business. That first year, I did a whopping $12,000. I didn't know what I was doing in this business. It's different. Cut yourself a break. Go learn what to do next. Get with somebody who's going to tell you, listen, here's the next step. Just take the next step. Before you know it, Heather, you end up in this space where you're making decisions based on, this is fun. This is what I want to do. This is where my clients are getting value. And it's okay that it looks different than you thought it was going to look. So yeah, it's a big problem. Just avoid that shiny object syndrome stuff. That can be a pitfall.
I could not agree with you more. I know when I started my business years ago, I was in the fitness field, created my own product way before Facebook and, social media was really exploding. And my business did evolve, around entrepreneurship and really empowering women to take charge of their business and their lives and really finding what works for them. But, getting into the shiny object syndrome, as you say, I find that's really interesting too, because as social media is out there and it's just happening like faster, there's just all these posts and groups and it can be overwhelming. And I find what people are doing is they're looking at what others are doing while they're successful, they're copying, and they're not being congruent and aligned with themselves. Therefore, that marketing isn't going to take off because it's not who they really are. And they're just following this other coach because, they think they're successful and they've got to do what that other person is doing instead of, sticking with the plan, really sticking with the plan, not, hopping all over the place.
There's some scary things about emulating what you see others doing. And that is that you don't see this, you only see the surface. You don't see all the back end stuff. You don't see the plan behind it. So I watch people do exactly what you're saying, where they throw out they see somebody doing something on Periscope. All of a sudden they're on Periscope. They see somebody doing something on Instagram, right? And they create this mess because they don't actually see the full picture. It's extremely important also to remember that when marketing your business, marketing has a ramp up period. It takes time for the strategies to work. And so I see entrepreneurs get really frustrated in that early phase where they're putting in their time and they're doing it and nobody's paying attention. And what I found for me and for my clients is that you stay focused on that plan, even though all those other things look so cool, we stay focused on the plan. And then that plan starts to really evolve. When that's working well, then we pull in some of the other strategies. So yeah, it's a tough thing to navigate out there sometimes because, we're bombarded daily. We're bombarded hourly and minutely at some points, it feels like. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree because I remember years ago, I had this client that just would not listen to my coaching. She would start 8 different business ideas and wouldn't follow the formula. And I'm like, listen, when I'm teaching you works, you've got to follow it. And she just went on her own little tirade. And she was never successful because she didn't follow what I know is proven to work. And I see a lot of people doing that. They're beating themselves up. And you have to understand that there is a process that you need to follow. And it's consistency. Like a lot of it's consistency when you're marketing your message, putting yourself out there. You can't just put a couple things out there and expect everyone, to kind of be like, okay, I want to do business with you.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. And then the other thing that really for entrepreneurs to be careful about is that when you're on that path and it doesn't necessarily feel like it's working yet, and then someone pops up and goes, when you did that, I didn't like that. But if you offered it to me this way, right? And then all of a sudden I hear my clients come back and go, but wait a minute, what they really want is this. And my question to them is always, how many people said that to you? If you've had 20 conversations and 20 people said it to you, okay, let's look at it. But if one person happened to mention that we don't shift our entire business because we get this one response. So, you want to be careful about creating a plan, being committed to your plan, sticking to your plan. It's those entrepreneurs, the ones that are successful are those that are consistent in the long run. So, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, the consistency and sticking to, your vision of your business. I really believe true leader stays, on the path no matter what, because as you know, I mean, there's going to be pain and pleasure of the pursuit of what you're doing. It's not going to be a cakewalk. I don't care what anyone tells you. It's not a linear process.
That's
If
right.
anyone's selling you on that dream, they're lying to you.
Amen. I agree. My clients call me the truth teller. I'm not going to tell you. You'll never hear that out of my mouth. I know what it's like to build businesses. So
exactly. And so this kind of makes me think about, the pitfalls, especially as women, because women get emotional. What do you find are some really good strategies when, women want to risk maybe investing more in their business, or they're getting in their head like, wait a minute, I've tried that before and it didn't work. I know I get a lot of people that come to me and say, I've tried this program and I've tried that. It's never worked. And so what would you say to them in order for them to kind of clear their mind as far as beating themselves up and to really invest in their idea, invest in their inspiration, and then of course create the success that they want?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that come into play there, right? And so we do a lot of programs. There were times when I've done programs like you wouldn't believe, and some of them I found to be successful, and some of them didn't. So for me personally, what I've done is I sat down and I really took a look at, for me, what works and what doesn't work. I know that if we use a coaching program, for example, I know I like a little one-on-one. I want the responsibility of having to tell somebody else that I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I'll get it done just to not have to say that. I know that about my personality. So I always recommend that people look at, what is it about your personality that plays well? Do you like competition? Go find a place where others are really doing something and you'll do it because you'll want to be in competition with them. Do you want the nurturing? Do you want the one-on-one? Do you work well from a written plan, or do you need to watch video? There's so many ways for us to get things and get things done. We need to get clear on who we are. And then on top of that, you just need to forgive yourself, know that that was the way it was. So those programs didn't work, so be it. It doesn't mean that it's going to be that way forever. You have choice. You can choose that it will be different. And so, sometimes we just need to suck it up and go do what we got to do.
I totally agree. It's funny because I was talking to a new client the other day, and, they had lost millions of dollars in their business. And I love their mindset that they brought to the conversation. They said, you know what, I'm not going to let this dictate my future. And I have found working with people, the biggest successes that they have is all to do with how they look at their past. If they start beating themselves up and going, oh, my credit card, I'm so in debt, I'm not going to do that. Whereas if they say, you know what, these were learning experiences, and I've got a mission and purpose that I know I'm here to fulfill, and I'm not going to let that, hold me back.
Yeah, there's a great quote. I love Pitbull, and there is a great quote from Pitbull when he says, it's not about, I don't have failures. I have epic learning opportunities.
I love that.
That's awesome, right? It's all in how you look at it. Just as you said, it's all in how you look at what occurred to you. In my book, I talk about, there was a time in the early 90s when the banker called one day because the bank wanted their $1.5 million back. And we could have looked at what we were doing wrong in that trucking company at that moment, and all the things that had gone wrong. And instead we said, okay, so our options are file bankruptcy. No, we're not taking that one. What are we going to do to fix this? And we shifted things. That's the company we sold 15 years later for $9 million. So it is to be able to stop and look and go, so that's the past. It really is. It's a learning experience. So learn from it, move on. What's going to be different? So, yeah.
I love that. And the fact that you said, and this is what I know entrepreneurs really need to get, is that you're looking for a solution. How can we do this? Where a lot of times people stop themselves and say, I can't do it. I'm throwing my hands up. I can't do it. And I have to admit, throughout the years, I was one of those people like wanting to throw in the towel, but then something changed. I got some amazing coaching and help. And that kind of lends to what you were speaking about before, getting that accountability. Do you want to do one-on-one? I find, if you have someone holding your back, holding you accountable, that you're going to do it. There was a book, you probably have heard of it, called The One Thing by Keller, who started, I forget his first name, but started Keller Real Estate. And he talked about the percentage. They actually did a study on, there was a higher percentage, I think it was 30% higher for those people that actually set a goal and had someone else hold them accountable for it.
That's right. That's right. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am perfectly fine admitting to you guys that I'll get a lot more done when I know I got to tell somebody I did it or didn't do it. That's just who I am. And that's fine, because I get a lot of stuff done, right? Because I set myself up for those situations. I could go hide in the corner and never get anything done.
Exactly.
I would be a woman on fire then. I wouldn't be on the show.
Absolutely. And yeah, I just want to share with our viewers and our listeners, if you're in that place, if you're stuck, you need to invest in yourself. You need to believe that you're of value no matter what has happened, is to find someone that resonates with you and to not give up, to never give up. I remember it was a Friday night years ago, and I was talking to this coach on the phone. I literally felt like he was talking me off the ledge, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. My business is going sideways. I am freaking out about money. And that one conversation, one Friday night totally changed my business. And I'm telling you, if anyone's going through that, you need to focus on what you want instead of what you don't want, which, really takes me to the conversation, which we've been talking about, is the mindset. So if you're working with someone that gets stuck, they hit a bump in the road, I like to call it a bump in the road, little challenge. How do you help them to navigate around that? Because you can tell them to work on their business. Oh, you've got to do this for marketing. But when they're in that emotional state, it's really hard for a lot of people to snap out of that.
Yeah. So a lot of my clients work with a mindset coach. I have a mindset coach on my team. And so when I see that it's really big in the mindset, I'm sending them to the mindset coach. My approach for the majority of my clients, if they're not on the ledge, right? So we got the ledge, and then we got the, this didn't work stuff. Really, the majority of the time when I stop them and go, okay, so listen, we're in emotion because we're not looking at the facts. So let's look at the facts. And the facts are, you had this many people show up for the webinar, or the facts are you made this many phone calls. And so if we increase that, I come at it from a very strategic approach. And when I see that they're really stuck in their head, I send them to my mindset coach because, it's, and it's that little shift. Here's the thing, guys, we all go through it. Think about it. Think if you've ever had kids, all those thoughts before you have that baby of what's going to happen and what's going to go on. It's not just because we're in business. It's because we're human. So we just need a little assistance. Somebody goes, knock, knock, knock. What's really going on? So
Exactly. And I like to, I really like to be transparent with people. Like, it will happen.
Absolutely.
Clients, they'll be rocking it, and then something happens and they get into what I call their freak out moment. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, we need to change that. And so we work on the emotional state. Here's what you need to do in order to shift. And once they get into that energy, then they become that client attraction magnet, because you can't attract something into your life, even if it's like a relationship. Like if you're feeling desperate, I need a relationship. And people, the guy is feeling that vibe, it's going to be a total turnoff. So right. if you're like, you know what, I am all that in a bag of chips, and the right guy will come to me, that's what tends to happen. And I really believe the same thing. You have to kind of steer in that direction of what you want to do, and just realize that you can get back on track. You can do it.
Yeah, there have been studies done that show that we, as entrepreneurs, we are out here almost alone, it feels like. I do have 8 team members, but none of them live in Louisiana even. That's where I live. And so there are studies that show that every 90 days, you need to have that injection of this shift, or this remember that you're doing it right, or the connection with other entrepreneurs who are struggling, or who have just gotten past their point. They were just where you were, and now they're on the other side. we have to put ourselves in those situations, those scenarios, because it's hard to motivate yourself every day. You know, we need some assistance with that as well. Even, you know, I had a coach for the longest time, and she would say, new level, new devil, right? Business would go to that next place, and it's like, well, I didn't know that was going to show up. Yeah, I got a new problem, you know? So, yeah, we just have to work on it.
I love that. And I always look at challenges is that, you know, we're always looking to get things aligned and that support us, but yet it is those challenging situations that really make us grow to the next level, and not to be afraid of the challenges, because a leader in business and a leader that has a vision will take on the bigger challenges. And that's when you have a high skill set, you can actually monetize it in a way that's going to bring up your value and your worth to the marketplace. So I really want people to get that, is take those challenges and turn them into, you know, really championing to your own success.
Yeah. And that, you know, in this business, for me, this was the first time ever to work with virtual employees. I had never done that before. All of my other businesses were all mainstream. And so that took me several years to master, I have to say. I had someone come from Houston, though, and say, listen, you do this so well. You work with these virtual teams. You know who to bring in. My people don't leave. I've had them with me now for years. And they were like, can we joint venture and create a product to teach others how to work with virtual teams? And I'll tell you, 4 years ago, I would have said, are you crazy? I don't know how to do it. But at this point, you know, it's become something that we're good at here, and we can turn that into another revenue stream. So yeah, it's interesting and fun.
I love it. Yeah. And if you're not having fun, you know, you're really not living to your true potential. It really is a blend of learning from the challenges, having fun, going to the next level of what I call your business evolution. And just to kind of wrap things up for people, what are your final thoughts of just helping people, whether they want to get to the next level of their business, they've been stagnant for a while, or they're just, you know, they're just in kind of maybe those beginning stages of, you know, taking that risk. Should I do that? How do you make an empowering decision to take what I call a calculated risk, you know, to get a return on your investment?
So an empowering decision on a calculated risk comes from the facts. So it's very important that you stop, you take a look at it. If it's an investment of some sort, if I invest that money, how am I going to get a return on investment? And how long does that take? So be realistic about what that looks like. I don't personally invest in a sponsorship, for example, where I'm going to go out and be a speaker and I've paid to be there, not expecting to have a return on investment on the spot. I have a 1-year plan to triple my investment, right? So it's to take all of these decisions that you're so stuck on. Number one, look at the facts, because if you're stuck on it, it's because you're in the muck. You're not looking at the fact. And then make a yes or no decision and just be with it. Just do it. Okay? Here's the thing. I can't think right off the top of my head of any decision you're going to make that is going to be totally undoable, right? If you really screw up, then you just step back and you fix it. But the reason I've been so successful is because I make decisions. I might not always make the right one. The majority of the time I do. But when I make the wrong one, I make it right. Okay, so I adjust to make it work, whatever that is. So I want to encourage you, it is way worse to be sitting on the fence than it is to make the decision and be wrong. I can tell you that all day long. So yeah, for me, it is go look at the facts. If you have trouble looking at the facts, get someone to help you. Go to someone, make a pros and cons list, and then make the decision. You're in a worse place sitting there not making the decision than whenever you finally make it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're saying, Michelle, and I think that's really going to be helpful to everyone that's watching this today or listening to this on iTunes. And before we go, I know that you've got a gift that you'd love to offer. So what is that and where can they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So I put together a video series. It's 3 videos. You guys are going to love it. It's called Highly Paid Authority. You can find it at highlypaidauthority.com. And, it's all about the idea that I want you to be charging what you're worth out there in this world. And so I put together a couple of videos just to kind of help you with a few things. One is, how do you take a very low price program? Maybe you've got a book or something that's $15. How do you turn that into a $200 product? There's a really simple formula to do that. That's one of the videos. How do you have better conversions on sales conversations? That's one of the videos. They're short, very specific, driven with facts and how to do things, and you're going to love it. So highlypaidauthority.com, and you'll get all three of those videos.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. And we also have in the show notes, if you click on the link below this video, or if you're listening in iTunes, that will be in there as well. So thank you again, Michelle, for being my guest today and really teaching women, women that are on fire or want to be on fire, to take the risk and to believe in themselves, believe in their dream and be true, to who they really are.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather, so much. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. And I just want to thank everyone else that is watching this today. Please do me a favor. Please rate, review, and subscribe. If you're on iTunes, or if you can go over to heatherpicken.com, you can rate, or you can actually subscribe to those videos there. So have an amazing day. And I want to leave everyone with one quote, and that is, know thyself, be thyself, love thyself. The Greeks said it best, and that's really to own your power and know who you are. Until next time, this is Heather Picken. Take care. So if you found this show to be helpful, please hashtag WOFE, that stands for Woman on Fire Entrepreneur, and subscribe to this show in iTunes and leave me a review. I want to know how these shows have helped you. I also want to know the number one thing that you're struggling with the most in your business. Every week, I give away complimentary sessions to help you get it clear on your next steps and to activate your money mojo. You can learn more about my work if you go to www.heatherpicken.com.